Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We have a new character in the form of Liliam being added to Etheria. Restart 5-star SSR Dark Unit here. We're going to be watching the character PV as well as with a kit breakdown. And we're also going to be looking at a couple of suspected options and how we're going to be building this character for probably PvP, but also maybe PvE as well. So let's just get into it for us right here, right now. All right, let's check this out. I know we give flack, but we also give the big boost. And things are cool. Oh my God, it's Nico Nana. Can't imagine her being like the best, but maybe she'll be fast. Maybe she'll be like a fast assassin character if they're showing Nico Nana. We'll find out. She doesn't look like she's worried. She's got a theme song? Dual wield! Get him, Sora. If Raiden Shogun had arms. Big arms. Okay, is she gonna one-shot? Is she gonna one-shot Nico? Not, probably not. All right, now we got the skill trailer. Is she also gonna be against Nico Nana here?
Liliam is an offensive type Animus who embodies burst
Wasn't
damage,
the other one called Liliam?
And crowd control. With control immunity for her passive, she ensures constant actions while her
Excuse me? We have crowd control immunity on passive. Is that going to be like an actual passive, or is it going to be like or is it going to be like attached to an activatable skill?
Allow her to dominate the battlefield. Additionally,
an
her
AoE
shield
stun if
piercing
she
and HP
okay
reduction abilities make her highly effective in PvP.
Sheared
deals damage to a single target and
skill
heals herself for a portion of the damage dealt. Exclusive passive grants her immunity to all crowd control and turn meter minus effects.
Okay. We're doing that already in this game? We're just have a crowd control immune character? I mean, when you look at the game right now, it's like Rev Cleave in conjunction with characters who also do crowd control stuff or like bruiser stuff now. So, okay.
Skill 2 deals 2 instances of single target damage.
2 hits.
The damage increases based on the target's missing HP.
So
if
like
the target's
Masia
HP falls below a certain threshold, it is guaranteed to be stunned. If the
guaranteed stun on a execute style attack. It says Liliam up there. Didn't they say Liliam? Okay, whatever.
Attack kills the target, all enemies are guaranteed.
All enemies. Oh yeah, Doki the shoulder and Doki. I mean, sure. I mean, a guaranteed AoE stun. And it executes. That is good in Doki Doki.
Stun. Ultimate skill grants herself increased attack and increased speed, then deals massive single target damage. If the target's HP is above a certain threshold, the damage is increased. This attack ignores shields and reduces the target's max HP by a portion of the damage dealt.
Whoa! Self-attack buff, self-speed buff, reverse execute. So the higher their health is, the more damage she does. And then her S2 is an actual execute that will stun someone if they fall below a certain threshold, or be an AoE stun guaranteed if she kills somebody. Okay. Sure. Liliam. Didn't he say Liliam at the start here?
Liliam is an offensive type animal.
Which one's right, guys? Liliam, Lilam, Liliam, Lili. Damn, they just gave the man the wrong script. All right. So S1 seems to be okay. I think the main thing, right? It does a little bit HP drain, but it's got that passive attached to the S1 probably. Immunity to all crowd control and immunity to pushback is wild at this state of the game right now. And then her S2. Her S2. 2-hit. Execute. Will stun if they're below a certain threshold, or if it kills, it's an AoE stun. And then the S3, self-attack buff, self-speed buff, massive single target damage, whatever that means. And then it scales if they're above a certain HP threshold. So I think about like the Harvest set, which also sounds like it's going to work fantastic on her for an 8-piece setup bonus. You have Harvest with the S3. I mean, shit. And then on top of that, it ignores shields and it reduces their max HP, which also might make her work well with Harvest set, which is kind of funny. Because if you reduce max HP, then the HP threshold for her S2 and S3 should probably change. Maybe that makes it work worse with her S2 too in PvP scenarios, trying to get maximum benefit on her missing HP thing. Okay, certain stuff that we could look into here. Now, right now in the game, I mean, if you just go check out PvP period, a lot of that stuff is just, it's rev like we saw, fast rev, or tank down is actually really good if you can get the gear for it. But as far as like what this character is going to do, is she going to be absolutely busted? It depends on the meta, depends on what her stats are. And honestly, she's a DPS guy, so it depends on what her modifiers and stuff in her stats are when she is released. Now, if we go ahead and look at the archive though, some nice stuff and some weaknesses for her can be sort of swapped up here, right? Because she's an attack scaling character that looks like she wants to be anti-bruiser, but also be able to one-shot people potentially with her S3. Her S3 is anti-bruiser because it's got the injury. It also sounds like it could be good for one-shotting people because it's just going to have massive damage if they're above a certain percent HP threshold, which works really well with some modules we'll look at, like we just talked about with the Harvest module bonus. But the downside for her, she is immune to crowd control, which is awesome. But if she's just going to be built to take people out high damage, probably a little bit of speed, you don't have to worry about being crowd controlled. You do have to worry about dying, though. But thankfully for us, Law of Silence is pretty strong in here. Void is nice. The effect res kind of is wasted on her. But if you can't be selected and you take 50% less damage, that's going to be pretty nice there. It doesn't have any of the speed matrices on it. It's got a lot of the damage matrices that you can throw on here. But it doesn't have like Swift Rush if you wanted to make her Swift Rushy. But you can still build her with speed substat and get under damage. But Void, it sounds like it could be pretty good. Allowing her to just kind of exist in a bruisery environment, right? That's where you want to draft her and play her. Make it so she can't be selected by single target stuff. And then if there is some AoE damage coming out, you just 50% less damage so you can get her up there, take a turn with her, you know, start doing stuff with her, give her some barriers, give her some survivability that way. Law of Silence sounds like it could be pretty good for her there as well. Not necessarily for her though, but because she's like a squishier character, having someone in your party give her barriers like we just talked about, so having like an artisan in your team somewhere sounds pretty great. Obviously Codex of Magic here, just being able to double S3 with her. I mean, how is that not insane? The other crazy thing in these matchups too, also Codex, you can put Swift Raid, you can put Swift Rush, you can put Swift Smite on there. The other crazy thing about this is like, you're not necessarily locked into S3 2 times to be like, wow, super cool. In certain scenarios, I can definitely see her in PvP where you use her in that mid speed area in these bruiser matchups, and you actually you get 2 S2s out of her, where you have her do like an execute damage style attack. And if she kills somebody, that's an AoE stun. So her being able to hit somebody, AoE stun the team, finish somebody off, and then do it again to just kind of lock your opponents down if they don't have immunity or something, that sounds pretty insane. With Codex of Magic there as well. So those two sound pretty awesome. in the grand scheme of things. You could also potentially build her on, I don't know, Lighthouse would be kind of weird. It does have Swift Rush. It doesn't have any of the damage matrices. It doesn't have Harvest or anything. But like that'd be kind of weird, you know? You put like, you know, just put on Bloodbath, a Bloodbath Lighthouse build or something with her as well. But I don't like that as much as like Law of Silence sounds great out of the gate. Codex of Magic sounds like it's got some great stuff you can do with it right out of the gate as well. Didn't sound like she worked super well with Revelation, which thank God at this point in time, like thank goodness. I don't think you'd want to be doing anything crazy with like Gigabyte. You could put it on there. White Fang's just like a solid shell to throw on her. But for like the Trixie stuff so far, Law of Silence sounds pretty good. And then the big one, Codex of Magic. Count potentially, but like, do you really need it? She already S1s and heals a little bit. Maybe you get in there, right, for these bruiser matchups. She's got big damage. She's got crowd control. Give her some sustain maybe with something like Count. It does have access to Swift Raid, even if it doesn't have access to Swift Rush. So you could do some cool stuff in here. It doesn't have access to the big one that we like though. The one that we like a lot is on this boy, Harvest here. So Harvest sounds like it's going to be a great thing on her for just big damage. I mean, you have an S3 that does more damage when their HP is above a certain threshold. Well, so does this bad boy. And ignoring 30% of that, I mean, that's going to be pretty good there too as well. But we're going to have to see what the damage multipliers are for her there. Like, is she going to be able to S3 through somebody on Bloodbath set and do a significant amount of damage there and in like a bruiser matchup? I'm not quite sure on that. Is the weaknesses of her being primarily like a damage dealer, right? She's not a bruiser herself. She's not a bruiser that's an anti-bruiser. She's just kind of like, you know, if you envision someone like maybe Hoyan without like the self-sustain, right? I can't die one time passive that Hoyan has. Instead, change that around for the I can't be crowd controlled one. Also, does Hoyan, am I dumb? Does Hoyan have, where's she at? Hello? I always want to click on Fuki, who also would be really good with her if we're looking at characters that you could pair with her. Am I blind, brother? Here she is. Does she have? Oh, she's got anti-heal or whatever. So they're kind of reverses of each other. We'll have to see what her base stats are, but I could see some cooks with this character being pretty good if you can keep her alive in these bruiser matchups. You know, some sort of team like that. I think that would be pretty strong there. She also sounds like she'll be able to just do a lot of good stuff. Matrixies though, like we talked about, the big one here, I think it would be a crime not to have her on Harvest in some way, shape, or form. And I wish we could click on this. Oh, we can. Which the only shells with Harvest on them is White Fang, Law of Silence, and Revelation. I'm not sure Revelation's the biggest one here. Law of Silence, I think, might be her go-to de facto one, especially if you're trying to do some Bruiser v Bruiser stuff. You can do some neat stuff here on a Law of Silence build. What would I want to do? I mean, HP, I would definitely do Harvest. Keen Eye could be all right if you wanted to just do big damage that way. Do like Harvest, Keen Eye, Fury Edge. You could do Bramble. Bramble Harvest is double 8P, so it's kind of wasted, but you know, maybe there's something there for a specific build. In PvP scenarios, I'm not really the biggest fan of that. And then the other one that is potentially interesting is making it so she just can't really, you know, get taken out. So for Bloodbath, like a bruiser, like forcing her to be sort of like a bruisery character so she can bruise with the actual bruisers. I'm assuming she's just going to be like a DPS stat line character. She's not HP scaling or anything. You have some alternate options here, right? So you have straight up just Lighthouse to push around, right? The old Lighthouse Bloodbath trick where you try to damage someone, they don't get damaged enough, they heal back up, they push, and then you just kind of like do her S3, you do her S2, and kind of go from there depending on which sort of matchup you're using her in there. That could be a potential good build there as well. We talked about Codex of Magic, which is very nice on her. Codex does not have the the one that allows you to penetrate 30% defense here, but it does have access to Swift Rush. It does have access to Bloodbath, Swift Raid if you want to. Swift Smite, if you're just looking for some extra speed and you can't get a Swift Raid one, you know, if you were looking for some speed, you have access to 2 of the 6 pieces down here, and you probably go Swift Rush, Swift Raid. You can go Bloodbath with a little bit of Swift Rush, right? Go like 8, 12, 6 or something instead of 12, 12. You could do that as well and just get a little bit of attack and keep like the 35% total speed and be on Bloodbath still. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do on her there. Potentially, those are the 2 best ones. Fortissimo, listen, I know she heals on S1. I wouldn't mess with that. And then obviously, in these like tank down matchups, man, if that's where we're going with her, Amber seems kind of wild, right? Hard to get to her, right? Maybe you run like some weird, you just go 12, 12, you just go Swift Rush, Bloodbath on her, on Amber, and you just do damage, just build her for DPS still, right? And it's hard for another bruiser team to really take her out because she is just tanky to herself. And then when she finally goes down through her crowd control, through not being able to be crowd controlled herself, all this other stuff, she just goes into the ice state, heals up, and is kind of ready to rock and roll again there. Any of this other stuff, I'm not really, you don't need Alicorn, Gigabytes, whatever. Artisan's fine. But like, I don't think any of these other ones stand out to me. And then Jackal, I mean, sure, you know, you can put her on Jackal, but I mean, Swift Rush, Bloodbath, you can give yourself speed buff, but she already gives herself speed buff. I don't really see that being a big deal there either. But those are really the big sets. Swift Rush, Swift Raid, right? And then we have Bloodbath, I think is a fantastic thing. Bramble could be an option. And then the big one here for the DPS sets going to be Harvest. I think if her mod's really good, she gives herself attack buff. She gives herself speed buff. She wants you on the S3 to hit somebody who's probably above 50% health anyway to get a larger damage multiplier bonus. And then you ignore 30% of their defense. If you can hit somebody through Bloodbath with that, I mean, damn, just one-shotting somebody, oof, that would be kind of crazy. Although it is kind of funny that Harvest doesn't work super well with her S2, but if it's anywhere as strong as Masia's is, then do you really need to be penetrating 30% of someone's defense if you have an attack like Masia, who, what does the multiplier go up to? I think it's missing 100% of their lost health with a 300% attack stipulation there. It's the cap in PvP most likely. So she sounds really strong. Now, do I think she's like guaranteed insta broken? We're talking about Lilium in the chat already. Do I think she's gonna be guaranteed insta broken? I don't think so, unless she was like the bruiser that out bruises every bruiser, right? The bruiser that can't be crowd controlled, that can't be one shot, that can one shot all the other bruisers. I think her weakness will probably lie, and I would be very surprised if her stat line is anywhere near bruisery. But I think that's going to be a potential good build you can force her into. And I think, you know, forcing her potentially, if her stat line is good enough to be semi-fast and one-shotting people. So it's really going to depend on her stats like any other DPS in any other game. But the kit on paper sounds exceptionally strong. Not being able to be crowd controlled or even pushed back is very good. Not being able to have bruisers stay forever against you, potentially, if you can stay in the match while you're injuring them, while you're crowd controlling them with a stun, even if it's just one person that can't be resisted, is very strong. And then the entire team getting stunned if you kill somebody can swing an entire match in like a PvP scenario very easily. Do remember though, that immunity is a thing, right? Alicorn is a thing, so that could help out a lot. We'll have to see if like Dreamweave stacks from like Freya prevents like an AoE stun. I don't know how that would. I would assume that Dreamweave would prevent a stun stack. Doki Doki's very strong. There are answers to your team getting stunned right away, right? Immunity, etc. So we'll have to keep in mind that as she is released. I'm looking forward to seeing like the rest of her kit. And I mean, obviously it's cool to look at, but like, I just fully built Yelly, so even if I did get her, which I probably could, I don't even know. We'll have to look at it, how much lattice investment that she'll need. Like, are the lattices that you're gonna have to invest into her gonna unlock certain parts of her kit, you know? Or are you gonna need a ton of them? I'm not sure, but I would happen to think that you probably would have to put a fair amount of lattices into her being a DPS character in a similar situation as someone like Hoyan when she was released. So that's going to be Lilium. I don't know. They said it both ways. It looks like Lilium is the way that it's going to go out there. If you want to see more stuff on anything that we're doing here, we got more stuff coming out tomorrow, the day after. Not just the Etheria restart content. So if you like the smiling face here, a little bit of a Vaporeon, Umbreon in the background, and I finally took Steven out of the trash can. Thumbs up for Steven down there, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.